Welcome to Loleventvods. Watch the full game of today's LPL 2025 matchup.
I remember.
And it symbolizes good wishes and luck for the new year ahead. So LNG
good fortune.
wishing that upon their fans is rather nice.
Nice. There we go. Sorry to have failed you. I was like, oh, I thought you were gonna ask me, how to say Happy Lunar New Year in Mandarin, which, we did spend some time learning. But you know what? All that aside, we got draft and we're already speeding through the picks.
Yeah, LNG focusing Bin's champ pool throughout. It's the first pick Cassante, but the Ambessa and the Jace locked in. So solo laner showing for LNG. Expect a magic damage jungler to be coming out now, but we've seen real prevalence of tank Jace, and who knows, maybe High Shot was just warming up for whatever he's going to play mid lane this game, because Ambessa, we have seen a little bit of that mid. Shout out to Linfong, who actually played a really nice one from the Demacia Cup to memory. And then tank Jace, which has been really overtaking LPL in this new meta that we have. Those tank items just feel so good on Jace in the top side.
Dang, Flandra. Why'd you have to bring this upon us?
That item is something else. So for Jace to have it, it's pretty good. Funnily enough, the first series that Bin played actually took the Jace into Ambessa in the top side of the tank Jace and kind of dunked it. So, Bin, though, on the Cassante, of course, a specialty pick for him. Always love Bin's Cassante. Bin's an amazing player. Bin's Cassante is incredible. Always very fun to watch.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Bin's Cassante, Bin's Jax. I mean, we could go on and on about multiple picks that Bin has pulled out in his career. Gnar, his Gangplank. Oh, my goodness, man. This guy's repertoire is deeper than most oceans. I'm just gonna put it out there. Maybe that's a big stretch, but you know what,
Rafa, we were just able to name a lot of the things in Bin's repertoire, but I believe oceans it's still believed that they are 70% undiscovered on the planet.
Wow, I didn't even think about that connection. But you know what? In Fearless Draft, this is
what else you got?
Bin can uncover some new tech that we have not even seen yet. So this is... I love that. Second round of picks is now about to begin after a couple support bans in the Alistar and the Leona. Really great finds. I was just going to comment whether Ziggs would make an appearance here, because while, yes, they already locked in the Zyra for Weiwei, being able to supply long-range damage, especially in a composition that has so many aggressive divers in tank Jace and Ambessa, I think this makes a ton of sense here, man.
I don't mind it. It just puts a really big focus on the early game for LNG, because they will be missing that traditional marksman later on. That said, Ambessa does bring a lot of damage to the table if she's able to get involved. I do want to shout out, I know we're a little bit behind on draft, but really like the Leona and Alistar bans. I think it takes away the vast majority of the main engaged supports, which is something that's necessary for LNG. And I'm expecting that we just see an R5 Nautilus, because that's the last support up that just has a hook, can go in. But Nautilus, least amount of stats, and something that I think MF deals with okay. That being said, with, of course, the solo laner showing, Knight gets to take his choice of pick. We did mention the Vlad into Aurora. No chance for that to show here with all the picks showing. So Aurora, and with the Viego, man, the level 6s and these alts for BLG are going to be really big for them in the earlier stages of this game.
And something I've talked a lot about in witnessing Viego compositions being drafted is I love it when there's at least, one major source of burst damage, but reliably, I would love two. And you've got that. Aurora, such an impressive champion once she gets her items online. The amount of poke and harass she can get in while, stealthing in with invisibility and just poking people down. Of course, Misfortune Bullet Time. I mean, that should create such a health disparity right from the get-go if timed well with an engage. And that creates so many low health targets for Viego to just rip through the team and start possessing all around. And as you called it, Joa with the Nautilus, that provides at least one guaranteed form of engage, a point and click with that def charge. So now LNG have something to work with when they're looking for these picks.
Yeah, and I think a lot of importance on the early game, honestly, for each team, as it feels like BLG kind of matched what LNG was showing. No traditional marksman for LNG as this game goes on. I feel like that puts a little bit more of an emphasis on the earlier stages of the game, but I think uniquely with MF, early on, she just kind of feel like a caster with her E and her R being so big. And those autos will hit really, really hard with the BT rush and the builds that we've seen, but it feels like MF can really contest some of these earlier game-based comps. So I actually really like the angle for MF here. Feels like that early Bloodthirster and MF's ability to push people around can be big early. And Elk's MF in the first series that BLG played was fantastic. He really utilized that Bloodthirster spike, was able to step up with that extra move speed from the strut. And BLG was using that strut to rotate around the map really well. So I want to see if they can do that in this game against LNG.
And I love that you pointed that out, because I think anytime that a team really utilizes certain champions like base movement speed or certain mobility that they have that it gives them faster rotations, it just gives you an extra amount of power in making macro plays, strong macro plays, especially when the enemy team is trying to leverage a snowball or leverage momentum across the map by saying, well, we've created numbers advantage naturally at this one objective. If you're able to rotate over to the other side of the map, it's like, okay, well, you get this objective, we get these. You get this objective, we get these two. And I think that's what a lot of the top teams have already demonstrated in this split so far. There's been a ton of cross-map trading, and the top teams are always the ones that, regardless, they're the ones initiating the play or reacting to it, they always find themselves making the better of it.
I think the BLG Jayos might have been a little bit stronger in the away arena. It may not be a great sign, but, BLG, I think warranted that they've garnered a lot of fans given the performances that we've seen from them in the past couple of years. And this roster, of course, very much has stuck together. And, of course, the only change being Wei now being the only jungler on the roster for BLG, and Coach Malachi behind the scenes coming in from Top Esports. But to start this game off, looks like we have mirrored clears with both Viego and Zyra starting on the Wolves, and expect to see them working their way towards their respective red buffs. But we also have a lane swap as... Zeka
Forced the flash, but the immediate follow-up from On gets the guaranteed knock-up, and it pulls him right into Elk's grasp. Maybe Elk will flash over the wall here. The crashdown comes in. Elk doesn't even need to burn a single summoner spell. It's just that damn easy. BLG with first blood.
Yeah, Zeka trying to get fancy, hide in the brush, and soak some XP, but snuffed out by On. Good start to the game here for PLG as that shock blast might have hit Rafa in his background, unfortunately.
Hang on. Wait. No, it went past my shoulder. I had to wait for it.
I'm surprised that you were in range for that one, being all the way on the other side of the planet. But good start here for the bot lane of BLG, and good use of sweeper there from On to find Zeka, and already gonna cause the lanes to shift up a little bit as we have Joao making his way down to the bot side to defend any dive that might come down on the flashless Ambessa.
Yeah. Well, I hope Knight is doing okay. It looks like his camera has turned to night vision mode, so probably not what they meant by the name, but no, hopefully he's not in complete darkness, but he's doing okay in his lane so far. But as you called out, Jewel coming towards the bottom side of the map just to make sure that Zeka is doing okay. But Wei, Knight could be in trouble. Might need to flash here at the last possible second. Just the auto attack comes through, but we'll get a chance to base and TP back to lane.
Yeah, Wei, of course, on the Zyra, you clear so quickly. It looks like was mid around the 310 mark. So using that early timer, caught Knight off guard, got the chunk, got the flash. We'll see if Haichao can do anything with it.
Wei is hovering around the mid lane on the bottom side of the map. So might not be a window here. Although On is getting aggressive against Jewel and Zeka, just pushing them off the minion wave. And with Wei hovering in this bottom quadrant, it does put a little bit of pressure, but just going for the base, trying to find information on where Wei could end up next. I mean, so far, the fact that Wei is playing the Zyra, it gives him the advantage of clearing significantly faster than a Viego does, but the fact that Wei is not falling behind or far behind in terms of overall pacing and trying to find his way onto the map in terms of impact. It's going to give BLG that comfort and security that they're not getting outpaced by the Zyra.
When it comes to the jungle matchup, really important that Viego gets the jump onto Zyra. If that's not the case, then the Zyra does win out on this. Viego, when he gets 6, does have the opportunity to buffer Stranglethorns or the E from Zyra to try and get out of that crowd control, but it can be really tough to connect the stun through the plants. Do want to highlight with the swap, Zeka getting starved out of XP, so when these lanes swap back, Bin going to have an advantage on this Cassante. That might be really nice moving forward, because he's up 2 levels overall. It's going to be about a level and a half, as Zeka did just ding 4, but still good for Bin when these lanes shift back. Could be really nice for the Cassante, where if he does get a bit of an advantage, can push Ambessa around early. Ambessa will get back into the matchup later on, as she does scale very well. But Ambessa's champ, I mean, she's there for the damage. She doesn't bring a lot of utility to the table. So I like the fact that this lane swap, they forced Ambessa to be in the duo lane with the Nautilus and starved her of some resources. Could be big later on if Bin's able to push Ambessa around.
And obviously, sometimes when you have a tank matchup, hang on, you might hold here. Wei does lock down on, but he initiates the crash down, and oh my goodness, Knight was already level 6 with the Between Worlds, does so much burst, and that forces LNG to scatter. Jewel already forced a flash, but Wei is going to follow up through as he already possesses the Jace, trying to look for another reset, but because he's not level 6 yet, can't go for the Heartbreaker to close the distance. Jewel does make it out alive, but boy, oh boy, LNG thought that they were the ones getting the jump on, but it was BLG that turned around.
Yeah, I think well worth it, especially that kill going onto, well, I guess it doesn't matter that much. It found its way onto on. I saw the BF sword on Elk, and I was like, oh boy, more kills. But that was first blood. That's my bad. That said, Grub's being taken down will be nice for Wei. Looks like he's going to get all 3s. So that would be step 1 of the feats of strength. Of course, you'll notice with feats of strength, we don't have that decided yet on the top side. Hold on, got to go into the replay. Knight being 6, as you highlighted, Rafa, I think the big difference maker in this one enabled a way to get the reset, and this skirmish went from being nice from getting the jump onto on into being LNG having to head for the hills, given the lead that Knight had.
Crazy that he was able to ding 6 and just have that ultimate available despite getting pressured by Wei early on, as LNG trying to pressure for another pick on knowing that he was overextended, but gets out.
I think those Stranglethorns from Wei could have been a bit better. As there was really only one exit path for On. Still doesn't have the flash up, or I think it just came back up. So if he dips down, would have been tough for him to get out. He's got to go up. I think those could have been angled a little bit better to maybe pressure something different from On.
I think Photic is in trouble, and yes, he is. Bin all out, takes the rat downtown, puts him back into the grave.
Oh, Bin Sante, it's back in 2025. Cassante, still a very, very, very strong champion in this season. It's had a lot of success here so far in the LPL, and Bin has always had success on the Cassante. Been in the solo lane the entire time, and Photic just, I mean, way out of bounds. Bin using the minion to taxi in, get that extended E shield. The unstoppable to push him into the wall. Ult over, and that's Ziggs. Said and done. He goes down to the gray screen, and that's the new feat of strength now achieved. Of course, it's not just first blood. Need the first 3 kills to get that one. So first one down for BLG.
Oh, and Q flash onto a flashless rat in Photic. Ziggs got nowhere else to run, but he sidesteps in and steps outside of the cone of the bullet time. Somehow, you can hear the crowd erupt into so many cheers. Just totally joyous that their AD carry made it out alive.
On had Ignite. I think if he drops that, Photic goes down. It wasn't the case. Didn't connect. That said, Ziggs, no teleport to get back. Will ult this way before he bases. I think that was the right call from Photic, but still. Gotta believe next wave gets in. Second plate falls to the hands of Elk. Feels like BLG are off to the races.
I mean, did we expect anything different though, Matt?
Not really. I will say first pick Cassante. I mean, I would say a bit of a surprise, but it's been. I think he can first pick Cassante. Also, Cassante in this tournament is 10-3. It's quite good in the Fearless format, having a lot of global success. And it's not just the LPL. We've seen a lot of good Cassante across the world. So, for me, that's the biggest surprise so far. But no, I'm not surprised that BLG are up like this.
Yeah. This is what we were alluding to. Wei had no idea that BLG were waiting in the wings. They get that first pick onto the plant lady, and now Nautilus could be the next target. Heartbreaker sinks his sword deep into Nautilus's back, and he doesn't even need the reset. That's a double kill going over to Elk.
I mean, Wei just kind of throwing it back to RNG Wei with the Viego games. This guy's always been a bit of a Viego merchant, if I do say so myself. And we highlighted you have to get the jump on the Zyra in this matchup. That's really where Viego can one-shot the Zyra. And it wasn't just Wei getting the jump on the Wei. He brought 3 teammates as he sent Wei back into the gray screen.
And it's just so hard for Jewel and Photic to make it out of here alive when they're both down. Flashes. BLG have been absolutely relentless with their picks. No, leave him alone, Knight, not you too, man. He still has Between Worlds if he wants to pop it. He finally does after landing the Weirding for extra bit of damage. One more cast of the twofold Hex, and Photic is just getting the absolute BLG love treatment.
This is a harsh kind of love they're giving him as Jewel.
Man, it's tough love, man. Bullet time. Good night, Jewel. And the rest of LNG are going to cede control of these grubs because they do not want to mess with Wei, who's now has control of that Nautilus and the numbers advantage. I mean, 3,000 gold at under 12 minutes into the game, Matt. This is progressing very nicely for BLG.
And 2K of it is on Elk, who just picked up another kill and walked out of base with a Bloodthirster around 10:30. So this misfortune extraordinarily accelerated. And if you were ahead this early on MF, you are so powerful because you can't be moved off the map now with the Bloodthirster. That between the damage that you have, your first auto attack just hits like an absolute truck on this champion. I mean, look at the Q2 through the creep, just pounding Zeka. Of course, Zeka pretty much only up a level compared to Elk, had to split XP early. Oh, okay. Well, we're going to get a second look at the bunny jumping out of the rat. And the rat had no chance.
This just feels like cyberbullying at this point. Photic has not been able to walk back to lane safely in quite some time.
At least for Photic, he's not being cyberbullied alone. It is his whole team. So he's got friends that they can sit at the lunch table together.
Well, in the case of LNG, there is a lot of potency in the characters that they have drafted, but they got to get there, Matt. And right now, BLG are not letting them actually accelerate at an even pace. They are getting super slow down.
Yeah, I don't think they're getting there. The only person that's going to get there is going to be Elk.
No. Okay, well, Photic has flash this time, but Knight just burns it off cooldown.
Oh, we missed the...
Doesn't get enough damage landed onto Photic to actually take him down, but that's another 7-minute spell gone. And Bin all out onto Zika. Could be in trouble. Looks for the Q3. Nice sidestep from Zika. Dodges out on another kill.
Yeah, good ult from Zeka was able to get out of... Cassante R, as R's were traded up there in the top lane. But BLG, I mean, they just keep on bleeding out small things from LNG, whether it's the health bar sending them back to base or summer spells. I mean, Photic, he just got that flashback up, instantly had to burn it against Knight. And with the health bar advantage being in favor of BLG, their first dragon of the game will be secured, and this will be yet another feat of strength. That's 2 out of 3, so the bonus boot secured now.
BLG almost 4,000 gold ahead at this point. On can pretty much walk into any jungle quadrant with Wei, and I feel like have absolutely no fear. You know, unless LNG completely overload on one side, which is what they're attempting to do. Death Charge does go on away, and On is forced to flash, but the Ignite, along with the Leandri's burn from Wei does take him out, and will give one reprieve of a kill back to LNG's side. But during this whole time, Matt, Elk is just comfortably pushing in on this bottom wave and will secure first brick for the side of BLG.
Yeah, of course, 6 scrubs for BLG. They have the option to overload, play hard towards these side lanes, which a few tools burned there to make sure that On fell, On being a little bit too far up, but still, his AD got first brick, so frankly, that's really not that bad of a trade, if I do say so myself. Looks like Elk being this far ahead will be going for the Essence Reaver build on Misfortune, so once that item's completed, mana really no longer an issue, as you got the Bloodthirster for the health, Essence Reaver for the mana. Elk's never going to be leaving the Rift, man. He's just going to be peppering down these turrets and waves all day long for BLG here in this early game. You got to believe that this gold lead is going to blow in with 6 scrubs in their back pocket, and 3 members already making their way up towards the top side.
BLG are a turret away from having a 5,000 gold advantage under 20 minutes here. Normally we like to say like the 10,000 gold advantage at any stage of the game is the point of no return. But just with how fast BLG are accelerating at this game state,
yep.
You know, I'm at a loss for words, man. I'm going to be honest. You know, LNG, they've got a really, really tough state for them to try and crack. And I'm trying to desperately look around on their composition to just understand who's going to step up. You know, who does it come down to make or break these fights?
This is the scary part about BLG too, is like their members are so talented, and you make any mistakes against them, and all of a sudden you just get the team that comes to punish. I mean, look at what they've done to Fotic this game. Every time that he's had flash up, feels like he's had to instantly use it. When he's had it down, they've attacked him as well, to set him behind. There's the talent this roster has, and I mean, frankly, like BLG. They took a break for Demacia Cup. I think well-deserved, given that no team in the world played more games than BLG this past year.
Yeah.
And then, like, already, I mean, this is their second best of 5 that we've seen them. Game 1, not to read too much into it, but BLG look like their old selves. I mean, we even see On, you know, making a few mistakes, too. We're used to seeing that with BLG. For better or worse, On goes in for the big plays. So, but yeah, I mean, this team is so good. It's so fun that they stuck together. And, oh boy, Hai Chao. He's under focus.
Could be in
here.
trouble.
Yeah.
Good flash. Immediately not giving him an angle. However, Ben is going to commit his own flash over the wall. And they're not going to even need to use the all-out. Hai Chao's just got nowhere else to run. On was distracting the rest of LNG on the bottom flank, and he is still alive because LNG cannot push through this corridor. Zika is now completely cut off, and Wei is going to try and lock him down. Here comes the rest of the CC. Joel tries to look for a re-engage, and they try to pepper him down with the long-range damage on Fotic's back end, but he's just got no fuel left in the tank. He's run out of mana. The rest of his teammates are falling by the wayside. Joel is forced to run, and BLG have complete control of this game.
See, this is why we're okay with On looking like off sometimes, because sometimes he just pulls off baits like this. He got 2 ults in that fight and walked out alive and really set his team up for success, because when depth charge is down, when pummeled execution's down, what's going to deal with the rest of the Fed members of BLG that then just get to walk through the fights undeterred? Look at On here. He's pretty much, as you called out, playing distractions, trying to fight Hai Chao. Gets caught out. That's 2 ults with the Ziggs bomb coming in. Eats depth charge, gets over the wall. Really well played. And then public execution gets dropped later on as Zeka's on the wrong side of the fight. Rest of BLG coming to support their support. There's really no option for Zeka here. He's got to pop the R, gets out. Okay, that did go on to Elk, but still, it's the tools that On gets out early in the fight. That's really big in terms of freeing his team up to play the fight up and forward later on as the fights continue. Bottom left of our screen, going back to live.
Let's see what LNG can find.
Yeah, with Zyra, Ziggs, if you're holding the chokes, you're feeling really good. But I don't know how long you can hold these chokes. A 7k gold deficit. BLG has the stats, has the items to walk through these chokes against the mages and try and do some damage here at LNG.
Yeah. The base stat differential just makes it so that the tanks don't even care about the Ziggs bombs and the Zyra plants. However, On does get blown up. And that's really darn good for LNG. Now a 5 versus 4, but Zika's caught on the wrong side of the tracks, trying to play distraction and might just escape, but Wei lands a well-timed W through the wall and now has possessed the Mbessa.
Well,
and the rest of LNG are nowhere near close to securing this dragon, so now they're starting to give ground as Wei makes his way through, using the power of the mobility of the Mbessa, and the rest of LNG cede control, and that is the second dragon for BLG.
Yeah, it kind of felt like LNG stepped off that dragon to try and help Zeka, and that was just not the right call.
Yeah.
As they stopped the dragon, and BLG with the wall, it's got to come in and make sure that they secure that one for themselves. So I will say that didn't spend a ton of time talking about win cons here. We did mention that without the marksman for LNG, they're on a bit of a timer, but the good scenarios for LNG and why it's so harmful they're behind like this is they want to be able to take space, step up on the map, because if they're holding chokes with Zig, Zyra, Jace, you do feel really good. And, I mean, honestly, well played by Zika here to at least try to pressure Knight, like try and use vision, but just ends up on the wrong side. And, yeah, I mean, LNG, it's not like anyone's really contesting their dragon. They just walk down to try and support their top laner. And it was for nothing. They got forced off the objective. BLG takes it for themselves. And that Infernal Drake, I mean, it's not like you needed more damage to deal with if you're LNG, but Infernal Drake going to help BLG out even more.
It would have been definitely nice to have if you were on the side of LNG, because then these bruisers in your tank Jace and your, very aggressive Mbessa get even more dangerous and hit critical mass on some of their threat points for diving the backline. But I mean, they're behind the curve, which it just makes things so much more difficult in actually trying to threaten BLG. Whereas, some of the item purchases that you already pointed out, I think the Bloodthirster, since being the first item for Elk, just makes it so hard to push him all out of the map, because he can sustain himself through the fight, he can sustain himself through poke, and just makes it so hard for LNG to actually properly set up for these objectives.
Yeah, and like LNG's comp, kind of what I was saying before we had another fight breakout, they want to be in the lead because they need to take space on the map and hold it. The Zig, Zyra, Jace, like walking through chokes against this, it's so hard, but if they're behind like this and you see them under turrets, you lose a lot of the power of this composition, because it's difficult. Like, man, you're thinking about getting ahead with Zyra, Ziggs, like walking through chokes to try and contest objectives like that. Like, even LNG being that far behind, you could even see when they were first the objective and they were able to get set up, it wasn't a cakewalk for BLG. It took mistakes from LNG for them to really crack open that dragon for themselves. So just the fact that LNG is behind like this, the comp they have hurts even more. And
oh boy, as soon as they see an enemy out of position, on waste no time. However, Elk gets bursted down. This is really critical for LNG. Major carry gone, but Wei has the power of the resets, and he could just rip through the team by himself. He's got Bin, he's got Knight, all in the back pocket to try and assist him on these possessions as he finds Haichao and the right side of that fight. LNG, the rest of the members are forced out of the safety of their own jungle quadrant, and despite losing Elk, BLG are still victorious.
Yeah, the very personal flash ult onto the support only for On. It did open up that angle to find Alk in the back half, and a good find by LNG. No, in the end, it didn't end up being too favorable for them, but they have to try and get these shutdowns. As we're going to take another look. I don't love this play from On. It feels like they, like if you play towards top to push him out, it's a maybe. I think On or the Nautilus ends up interrupting things, but yeah, I think that engage did open up things onto Elk in the back half. Worth noting, I mean, a lot burned there by LNG. That TP burned by Zika to try and make a play in the back line. Was not able to get anything done on this Mbessa that has been quite starved out throughout this game. As we have the Herald dropped, Otacon started, and BLG, we'll see if LNG wants to challenge him.
Juo's trying, man. He's trying to find some vision through that Tribush corridor. However, On was waiting, and the bullet time immediately forces the flash out of Wei. Nice Strangle Thorns, but Knight on the right side. Good flank between worlds. Finds the jungler, pops him, and Fodic just makes it in time. Still hasn't made an Inferno Bomb to try and look for some burst, but it's all on to the other LNG members. to open up space and create that initiation opportunity, but there's no jungler for the side of LNG, so there's no smite contest, and Wei still has a smite available, so this should be an objective guaranteed.
I think this is a dangerous start here for BLG. There's a lot of poke on LNG, and Otacon shreds, but okay, they find another. That's good. Okay, using the objective to get kills, but sticking it here is still a bit hairy. They have it down to 4K. LNG, oh man, there's no smite, can't walk in. All right, gonna be a give. Well played by BLG. They pull off, and now with the GA buffs, they're just going to continue.
Yeah, there's no flash on Photic, so he's been cut off from the rest of the support of his team. I mean, it's just really nice from BLG to wait out, to bait LNG in members one by one. They even had the patience to let Photic's last Q hit the Otacon so that Wade didn't mistime the smite and accidentally give that objective on over. Very clean stuff from the BLG squad.
I'll be honest, I felt like hitting the Otacon again. I've seen a lot of games in the early season where Otacon, it does a lot of damage, and it does shred you. Like early on, so
it's dangerous, man.
Yeah, I thought that BLG hitting it there might have been a little hairy. Not the case. BLG had that one under control. Do like how they peeled off to get another pick before they continued to commit to that. Important that they don't fall completely susceptible to the poke that LNG has, but again, 10k gold lead now for BLG. You called it out, Rafa, that you felt like the lead that BLG had early, like 4 or 5k, kind of felt like the 10k gold lead that we usually call games doomed at. Well, BLG has now hit that lead, if it wasn't sure enough yet. So,
if there were any doubts before, I hope that we have quelled those doubts, or at least BLG has personally quelled those doubts within anyone that might have thought otherwise.
I don't know, man. Like, this team is just so scary. I know, like, early season, I mean, the super team in JD Gaming, like, they've kind of struggled, right? Anyone's Legends formed. Of course, they had a killing run, ended up winning Demacia Cup, but we didn't see them have the best series early on. To see BLG this dominant and taking care of teams like this early on, this is a scary team, man. And Knight, I mean, this angle looks way too good yet again.
So good. And he knows that Photic and Weiwei don't have flashes. Easily pops one of the mages. The bullet time rips apart the support. And LNG frontline is now turning into paper mache. Knight finds Photic once again and says, hey, do you remember the laning phase, my friend, where I killed you like 2 or 3 times? Well, here's a 4th death for you.
And it feels like an FF on the map here for LNG, as BLG, they tickle the Baron to draw LNG in and demolish them piece by piece, now taking the map apart piece by piece. Mid inhibitor turret's going to fall. Baron's about to fall. Haichao's taking the consolation prize in the bot lane because I think he's FF'd and he's just, trying to push and get what he can down there. Feels like the solo queue adventure where you're done with the game, but your team hasn't FF'd yet. Is at least going to get objective bounty. I think this is the right call. I know I'm joking a bit for LNG and Haicha. It's the right call.
Yeah,
still,
it does look like a rage split moment, but genuinely, like, you got to get income on the map wherever you can, right?
I mean, they saw Knight. It just didn't matter. They still commit to the fight. They walk through the choke, and Knight picks him apart piece by piece as the last 2 between worlds have been massive. And Knight, of course, wasn't done, as Photic just getting ran down. Oh. Pop goes the rat.
It's a tough world for Photic this game. LNG just getting absolutely blitzed in the first stage of that early game over and over and over again. BLG were absolutely relentless with their pressure, and they just never gave LNG a window back into this game. And we're just moments away from them being able to close it out. Obviously, though, Knight might be in trouble, but uses the Between Worlds and stands on the far right edge to bounce back to the left, giving him an immediate exit. Nicely done. He still has a TP, so if he needs a chance to base and regroup with the rest of his team on this bottom flank push, they definitely can. But a public execution catches Knight, and he's forced to flash. They're trying to all in to see if they can get at least 1 kill and knock down the Medjai Soul Stealer stacks. At least 1 victory for LNG today, but they're going to lose out on their top laner, and BLG still matching strong 4 versus 4 on the map.
Respect to Zika, one of the pieces that has beaten BLG the last 2 times that LNG has met them. Him and Weiwei, the returners from the contenders of LPL last year. Ends up making a big play, finds the shutdown. That said, not going to change the fate of this game either way, as the second inhibitor turret and inhibitor to fall. BLG continue the push. Knight spawns in 20, and as you called out earlier, Rafa does have that in power TP. Doesn't protect the minions anymore. Those minions will still take damage. A little bit harder to end the game. Can't use the TP to protect the wave anymore.
There's a couple ultimates still available for LNG to use, but it's all on Jewel to find the CC to layer it on top. They take out one Nexus turret. To be fair for LNG, if they manage to stall this base defense, those Nexus towers will respawn, but they're taking a lot of damage. Both Zika and Knight are back up on the map. He has teleported and joined his comrades here in the field. Elk trying to pepper down Hai Chao, but it looks like Zika is trying to deal with... Oh my god, a poor Hai Chao just cannot endure the pressure from Elk's misfortune. Jewel gets knocked up once again, and there's the final window that BLG needed to put the wrapping touches on this game. Nice try, LNG, but you're going to have to try way harder if you want to step to the reigning world finalists. GG, well played. BLG take game 1.
I mean, the form of BLG, I don't think we've seen them truly